There's no doubt that those proposals are not good for the country. There's no doubt about it. There's also no doubt that they are unacceptable to the vast majority of the people of Zimbabwe. We must say quickly that proposals to amend the constitution cannot be just done in secrecy and then you emerge from some secret meeting to then put to the people of Zimbabwe far-reaching changes to the way they have been governed, the way they understand how the country must be structured. There's no person with such power in the country. Let's be clear about that. You are the president, you are Speaker of Parliament, you are a minister. No person in this country has the power from nowhere, from the secrets of your meetings or bedrooms. Just come up with far-reaching proposals and say, these are the proposals. Within 90 days, we will actually be changing the constitution. That is not part of the mandate that they were given to govern the country. So if you are the president, you are not given the mandate to change the way in which we are governed, or even to make proposals. If you are parliament, you have no mandate to actually then say, well, we are here, we are given 5 years to be parliamentarians, we now want to give to ourselves a further. I mean, it's completely unthinkable. So I should say that the proposals don't make sense and that they shouldn't be part of our constitution. What it means is that there will be opposition to that, and people must be told that if they don't like those proposals, they have a right to reject them. I mean, speaking for myself and many people that I work within the NCA and other organizations, the people that are pushing these proposals do not have the interests of Zimbabweans at heart. Let's take the very simple issue of how we should have our president in the country. I think that it's quite obvious that the majority of the people would want to have a say in determining who becomes president. But this indirect arrangement, which says, well, you vote for an MP, and when these MPs sit in a room, they will then decide who should become our president. But as soon as they decide on that person and they vote for him, the person becomes the president of Zimbabwe. That change cannot sit with, for the past 35 years, 34 years actually, from 1987 up to now, we have had an executive president, but we started the elections of a direct election in 1990. So 1990 to now 2026, so it's about 36 years. For 36 years, we have lived under a political system where we would elect our president. So people would have ambitions to be president. People will also believe that if they have a president that they elected, they can go to him and her and things like that. The country is governed. That is what I can call the political psychology, or whatever we would have in our mindsets. You can't just change that. And when you want to change that, you also cannot do it and say, I'm not going to go to people to ask them what they think because they gave me a mandate. Because that's my understanding of the argument against referendum. Where were they given that mandate to change that, and then that they will do it without? So the fact that they are hinting at not wanting a referendum means that they know very well that what they want to do is not in the interest of the people. Now, that won't be allowed. So what is going to happen is that there will be so many mechanisms. One mechanism that we have, the current constitution puts in place courts. They also we have in place among the courts the constitutional court, which is actually specifically supposed to be the custodian of the constitution. That's what that court is supposed to do. So it must be our first port of call. We have a very simple issue. Can these changes be done without a referendum? The movers of these proposals say it can be done without a referendum. We are saying it cannot be done without a referendum. That's a legal question. It's just a matter of what does the Constitution currently say. So we go to court. That's not a street issue. We can only think about streets in that regard once the court says there's no referendum. Once the court makes that interpretation, then we go political. We will still want a referendum. All right, and so forth. Is that clear enough? That's the position that should be. So people must not be worried. I don't see these proposals accepted. From the interactions we have with so many, they are so unacceptable that I think most of the people that are at the forefront of pushing them in place and so on, these are people that are experimenting. They are not well grounded in politics, although they are doing it in the name of people that are grounded in politics. But the front runners of the proposals are people that will have a rude awakening. to say that you cannot just think that you have had a brilliant idea, you move from your what you have stored into your head onto paper, and then somewhat you are likely to get that passed by cabinet, and you are also likely that you can speak to the nation and say this. Those things they can do, moving papers from one office to the other, and even publishing things in the Gazette. But the political process of getting the people of this country to say that from now on will be governed by those proposals, that's a very difficult process. And they'll have to do it. I mean, they have to have all the power. I'm sure, I don't know, if they are relying on their own power, unfortunately, they won't succeed unless they were given the power of God. But without the power of God and they have their own power, that simply that they were elected in the last election, they can simply lose that mandate within minutes. I'm sure we all know that. You can lose them. You were elected in 23 years. But what is the current mood? That's why in many countries you can even have what I call snap. You can call an election now. It doesn't mean that ZANU-PF will win again with this nonsense that they are spreading around. So an electoral mandate is not there for abusing. You can't keep referring to what you got in 2023. It's actually now about 3 years ago. It will be 3 years ago from the last election. And that is not enough, and so on. I think even in our show now, kune inonzi kuti kwai mataka da itsumuka naidimikira mataka chikakare hanyara dzichi mwana ungati ndaanenzara naso ndakadya kanesoro. That's irrelevant. I mean, we are here now to look at what are the interests of Zimbabweans. You know, they elected me in 2023. So we should be saying that I think they want to cause political instability. That's what they're up to, which is bad for these politicians to invite, because there will be people who oppose. And I'm sure now that they have state power, they would say, well, if you oppose, we'll arrest you. If you oppose, you know, the usual thing. But certainly they will be opposed, and certainly they must prepare to arrest people. And that is now to invite political trouble. You have a peaceful country, they should know that people will rise against these things, and so on. We do it peacefully, etc. So we'll engage in courts, especially for that. We have no problem with them now trying to say they go to their parliament that they control. But I also need to add that it is very worrying that these politicians believe that the mere fact that you belong to a particular political party would mean that as an MP you must not think. So they say we have a 2/3 majority. So those people in parliament must not think. If you are ZANU-PF, just accept that proposal. There's something wrong with that party, not wrong with the political system. A political system which has parliament must benefit from parliamentarians each independently applying their mind. But ZANU-PF is running the country on the basis that parliamentarians are robots or rubber stamps. That must be changed, etc. So those are my reactions. It's unacceptable. They also want to do it in an unconstitutional way. If they believe what they are doing is constitutional, let's meet in the courts. But the courts are not going to be the end of the matter. If the courts say it's unconstitutional, that of course is the end of the matter. But if the courts say it's constitutional, we'll then try and make it change the constitution in a way. We will resist it politically.